Hello. Well, we're finally here at this very special moment. Finally, after a long time, we finally are putting this album out, In Between Thoughts, a New World. So we're delighted to share it with you. And we're going to be here sharing this moment. You guys asked us a lot of questions, so we are happy to answer them regarding the album, how we created it, how we recorded it, and what's the art, what's the meaning behind it. So we're going to be here. So thank you.
Gab, how was the process? When did we started recording this album, and why?
Well, first of all, we decided it was a COVID time, so we didn't have any agenda in our heads about recording or to do any album. You know, if you remember, that state of the world at that moment was just uncertainty. So for us was to show up on the studio and just play, just play music. And for me, was processing all that stress. Maybe for you, what's different? You want to talk about it?
No, for sure, it was actually the same. But and remember, we were kind of very active in social platforms when the COVID started, and then we kind of after 4 months of doing all this interaction, we stopped, right? And and then we kind of had a reset, and that's when the COVID thing was very, very kind of hitting really deep everywhere. And fortunately, I mean, we have a studio, and that's our office. And even without COVID, we are there every day, right? So on those days, we were doubling our shift. We're doing double shift. And I guess it was a process as well of accepting what was happening at the time.
So, and then answering to your original question, which is your question, you guys have asked us this question a lot. So we try to be very in detail with this. So eventually, we started to come up with new music. Usually the way it works in this band is that Rod comes up with some melodies, he came in with some melodies, and then we start to sort of jam. Then I start to kind of strike in some tempos and some like percussion beats and then harmonies and things like that. And then eventually we both structure the pieces. Usually in the past, historically, it's always been like a little bit like long process. With these tunes, it wasn't long. It was just like flowing. We just we did the first one and the second one, third one until we got 9. And it was just like painless. It was effortless. It was just like,
Yeah, but I think it was as well the fact that we didn't know that this was going to become our new album, right? And that's why we actually added different elements like electronics and eventually the full orchestra. But at the time, we didn't really know that we were actually writing the new album. We were just flowing and talking about doing this kind of a soundtrack for this story based on something that we kind of had really discovered at the time, that we'll talk about it later. And and it was like we're moving without thinking that was going to become the next Rod and Gab album. So, and now let's listen to True Nature, which is the opening track for this album. You have any comments about it?
Well, this is about the story. That's where it starts. The story of this. You want me to reveal the whole story, or should we reserve it for a surprise?
No, we can reserve it for surprise, because in the shows we have new, fresh animations, kind of hinting to the story, and eventually we'll have the full animation for the album. But True Nature is the first track with a crazy structure, but in a kind of very up-tempo.
It's an up-tempo tune because it is the beginning, right? So it is a full, powerful, I think that sort of like the force of nature. It's very fast to play, and it's just like, it uplifts you, you know, it just makes you jump from your seat. So it just like when we did these pieces, that's how we started. That was the first piece we wrote. It's not like we finished the 9 pieces and then we just
reaccommodate.
No. We didn't. So we decided to respect. And in our crazy heads, we think this album is managing itself. You know, it's just saying, I'm gonna be here, and the other tune says, I'm gonna be there. You know. So we sort of respect.
Yeah, totally.
me and Rodrigo, we tend to talk all about our personal sort of way to live our style of life. We both meditate from a long time ago. Maybe you want to talk about a little bit of your experience as a meditator for many years, and a little bit the difference maybe between you and I, how we meditate.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have gone through different kind of stages in different, as Gab was mentioning before, kind of through different personal stages of developments of, you know, whatever, consciousness or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I started meditating like in the early 2000s, and probably more than 20 years that I've been kind of meditating. Different techniques and different approaches. But in 2020, at the end of that year, I got a glimpse of something that I hadn't understood before, which was based on this Indian philosophy called Advaita Vedanta.
But before you go to Advaita Vedanta, can you tell us a little bit more about your, like, how was it, which type of meditation you did back then, like in the early 2000s?
Well, I was into Buddhism, like Buddhist meditations, Vipassana and all. I mean, I was studying kind of Buddhism, but I went through different, the usual suspects, like at the time was actually Chopra and his teachings, and obviously the old yogis like Yogananda and the ones that kind of were more popular. I didn't know anything about Ramana or Nisargadatta.
Well, these names might be
exactly.
funny to you, but they're cool guys.
But and then eventually the more kind of modern teachings that I kind of got was from Joe Dispenza, which he mixes a little bit of science with the latest developments, on consciousness or whatever they try to find. And eventually I found this non-dualism.
Okay, so let's stop there for a minute, so because then I can tell you also that you can ask me, but I can ask me
yourself.
Okay, so I started also meditating, I think before 2000s. It was just like I would say a very sort of an anxious person, like a squirrel. Squirrels are like this, so that's me. So I needed to something that it was not a drug, because that was just like, I think I did that in my past life, so it's not, I knew it was not gonna work, although I was quite alcoholic, because I loved it. Nowadays I don't drink, but back in the day, I found sort of like the meditations, they seem to be very strict, and how you have to sit and how you have to breathe and all of those things. So that was very difficult for me at the beginning. And then I found like some sort of yogi that said, that doesn't really fucking matter. You can sit wherever you want, but as long as you can meditate for maybe 2 minutes. You don't need to. That was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, which was the Beatles guru.
The TM.
Yeah. So I found this like a mantra thing, so you repeat, and that suits me because it wasn't that so much of a discipline.
Strict.
Exactly. So, and it worked. Those things worked if you practice them, because this is a skill. It's like when you practice guitar.
Now, now it's time to talk about the second track on the album, which is The Eye That Catches the Dream. Again, following the, obviously you can tell by the names that we are really into this non-dual world of, the ultimate reality. And The Eye That Catches the Dream is basically representing kind of this awareness, like early awareness of not being the separate self that we normally think we are. And any comments about the actual song?
Yes, for me, The Eye That Catches the Dream is the essence of the non-dual thing, because it's the eye, but also it's the eye, which is not the tiny I, it's not the tiny person or the ego person. It's something that is bigger than us. And this I, you can call it God or whatever, you can call it the universe or mathematics. It doesn't really matter. So here that's what represents, and it's catching the dream, because the dream is this. what we think is real, and we you know, so the story starts like that, and then eventually when you know the story of that tune. On those moments of the COVID and whatever, Rod got the COVID, so he couldn't show up to the studio. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? When did you start feeling really bad?
Yeah, that was at the end of 2020, and then after we were doing all these social media postings and all that, and then I felt bad. Eventually, I found out that I had the COVID, and it wasn't really that bad, while the virus was there, but the recovery really took a while. I mean, I couldn't go for a jog, you know, I would get
It took
dizzy
like
and
forever.
like it took me like 2 months really to get over. So eventually, because I was at home, I was watching all these videos to chill and to calm down and to be patient with my body and to recover fully.
So
And
you
then-
were like a little bit impatient. You were just, you wanted to be back in the studio, back running.
playing
'cause
football or whatever. Well, we weren't playing football at the time, obviously.
But you were
because
running a
the run,
lot,
exactly.
and all, so you couldn't do it. You felt
Yes,
bad.
of course. And then eventually, you know, watching all these videos, I found a girl called Anna Brown, and she talked. It's a short video, like 4-minute video, and she was talking about this this thing that I never heard before, which was, I mean, she didn't mention the non-dualism thing, but she was talking about the fact that what about if there is, you know, there is something else, you know, beyond what you think reality, you know, your perception of reality is. And she was very concise and eloquent. And then I found that like I something kind of changed within my perception. It was like really like that. I mean, it was, I mean, not to be confused with some kind of, you know, sudden awakening or whatever. Just like something started going.
Something clicked.
Like and resonated different. Like, okay, I've been kind of in this spiritual path for so many years and being like what we call the spiritual warriors. But then I kind of felt like, okay, this is different. Maybe I had heard that before, but I was not ready to understand it. You know, that's the way the brain works anyway.
Yeah.
So, and then, then I started to, I listened to her and said, what is this? What's she talking about? And then I found out that she was talking about non-dualism or Advaita Vedanta. And then I looked up for more speakers and more people talking about it. The following track is Egoland. Egoland obviously following the story and the kind of, the line that we kind of started from True Nature, and this being that is going through this process of awakening, and awakening not in a kind of the super enlightened being, no, like just realizing all these concepts for the mind, but as well like reality for the energetic heart, if you want to put it that way. I'm talking to bombo jumbo thing, but
Okay, so to me, the equivalent, we need to put this in perspective. This character is and somehow us as human beings, as contemporary society at this point, at this moment. So if we sort of have a glance of the world, it's a world that is every day full of more information. So at some point the question is like, what am I in this, like, who am I in this crazy thing, you know? Like, so many, like, I remember back in the 90s, with all generation, back in the 90s, I asked myself, what the fuck am I? You know, it's just crazy. But now it's even crazier. It's just goes more crazy. So, in this Egoland, our character hasn't got any glimpse of awakening of anything. Awareness. So, in my head, Egoland, it's represented by a mountain. I kind of think I got inspiration from a book called The Two Mountains, where the author talks about his first mountain was about climbing it and be there and achieve it and be the number one and just be at the top of the mountain and things like this. But then he learned that during his lifetime, he found himself at the very top, winning absolutely everything, and just to find out that his wife left him a card, said like, I'm done, you know, this is divorce, and everything for him was just like, what does this really mean? So the second mountain was the one who saved him, And the second mountain is not about going to the top. The second mountain is about the valleys, and there's value. There's value in all the things that usually this world, as we perceive it, doesn't value those things. So our character goes to his first mountain, and it's just so crazy, it's Egoland. So that's what Egoland is about.
So Gab, and we've been working with Olayo Rubio for quite a while. Mm-hmm. He's an amazing friend, first of all, and then an amazing director and writer and many things. How did we get to meet Olayo?
Okay, that's
and who is Olayo?
Okay, but before we go to Olayo, I'd like to give a little bit of context. When we finished to record the Between Thoughts and New World, rapidly Rod came in with this crazy idea of do like tiny mini tunes, like half a second, like very very short tunes. And I was like, that's crazy, but at the end he always convinced me. So we did like 9-minute tracks, and they're called mini songs. And then we decided those were part of the new album and as a prequels kind of thing, you know. So each one represents a stage, meaning the non-dual thing is a state of mind or not mind. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about more of the.
Well, actually, that was we wanted to extend, and especially because we've been kind of waiting for over almost 2 years since we recorded the album, and then having these new people on board and new energy, we kind of came up in one meeting and said, like, what if we do something previous the album that kind of prepares the ground for the understanding for the album. And that's what these mini songs kind of are there. Basically, the idea of a process of understanding the realization of being. It's a deep words here, but at the end of the day, that's what we kind of wanted to portray, so to prepare in a way the concept in people's minds, and then we called Olayo, right?
Yes, when we finished to record the mini tunes, we thought we wanted to do some videos, and we also wanted to do crazy things. And we were just wondering how, and because during the COVID we became just very creative things in the studio. We did a lot of like online gigs and stuff, and we both were the ones who invented like scenography and things like this. I came up with the idea of to do a capsule, like some sort of like futuristic sort of capsule. I saw it in my head, and then I told Rod, and Rod just made it happen. I don't know how he got a friend, he built the thing in the studio. So we were like Rod and Gab TV productions or something. So we were on that phase of video producers where we were just trying to come up with the idea to do the 9 stages with the mini tracks.
Now, Descending to Nowhere it was the first single, and that's the one that Olayo Rubio worked on the video. We directed the video. The single came out 2 months ago, and it has a kind of a funky feeling at the end, especially towards the end. Any comments? Musically
yes, I
speaking,
remember that one day you were playing some weird bass. But when that's in my head, it's like a bass.
Like a Tool kind of vibe, you told me.
No, not like a Tool. It was completely different. It sounded different, and I really liked it. And then you sort of dismissed it, and then I was like, no, bring it back. And then that's the drift for Descending to Nowhere, But no, it didn't sound to me like Tool. It sounded different. Because musically, probably you guys know better than me, is in whatever measure, whatever, it sounded different, so I really liked it. And then we start jamming like this. And on the story, and now, kind of the story, but I think it's important that in the last tune, Eagleland, our main character is up in the mountain. Here, he just goes pear-shaped because he needs to descend. Yes, because once you picked, there's no longer growing, so it needs to come back down, but in a sort of dark sort of way. But we'll let you know as soon as we can the story of Descending to Nowhere. Enjoy it. And at some point, I think that was me. It says, what about we ring Olayo to ask him for advice, right?
For advice.
As if you and I were like video producers. Then we realized we are not video producers, and actually Olayo is such a fantastic director, and we actually worked with him before in one of our videos, Hanuman. And I don't know why we haven't actually worked in other stuff like video with Olayo, because he's a very good friend, but also I think creatively we click, and that's not easy. To find another artist with different visions and with different backgrounds and different experiences, and to click artistically. And I think that's applause, that's incredible. So when we talked to him, he said, oh, we can do so many things. And we were just going really like crazy, the three of us just coming up with great ideas, and we were just flying, right? So, but good thing that we are surrounded also by people that can bring things back to earth, and he had a person that brought all of these ideas to earth and to budget and whatever. So he ended up doing the 9 mini stages. We talked about a concept of the elements like air, nature, earth, water, and all of these the natural elements and resources at the back of these 9 mini stages. And then all of this was going to be linked to Descending to Nowhere, where we can see the character Advaita on that video. So on the 9 mini stages, me and Olayo got the idea to be the humanoids, like those humanoids that are like the screen humanoids, a little bit inspired. And I don't know if you ever seen the Fantastic Planet. That's like animation movie from the 70s. It's a French film. And so it went on those terms like science fiction type of thing. Also reminded me of Woody Allen's 1970s film called Everything You Want to Know About Sex and You Were Afraid to Ask For. And there is a scene where they look at these guys dressed in white, the sperm. So I was joking the day we were just doing the video that we looked like those guys. But that's how we did too. And now I talk too much, so I'm gonna ask you.
I think you said everything. Now, Seeking Reality. Seeking on Reality is the names are good. We actually called the tunes. I think that the best names we ever picked, and I think it's due to the fact that there's a story behind, But Seeking on Reality, it is a kind of a very easy song. The structure is very clear. It's almost like it's like a pop tune. Yeah, it's almost like a pop song, but with this instrumental feel to it. But what else do you remember from that song?
Well, and I like it. It's catchy and it's just very rhythmical.
You wanted that one as a single, I remember, for some time.
Yes, and also I can tell the story a little bit. What's about Seeking on Reality is this character now is into the spiritual world, and also in the spiritual world, although it's just like a paradoxically speaking, there's a lot of craziness about achieving, in this case, not a Grammy, not to win the Formula One or Wimbledon or whatever, but it's achieving enlightenment. So there's one of the first reasons I kind of got a long time ago trying to be a meditator was like, oh, but you need to learn all of these mantras, and now you need to do all of these things, and now you need to put your head down, and I love all that thing. But what I don't like is that sense of you need to do this because this is the only way your Kundalini is gonna go fucking like this, and then the other one gonna go, and it's just too many rules and this sense of I need to achieve this. It is like another trap of the ego that is now disguising itself as a yogi, now I'm liberated, I'm finding this liberation, and it's not. So in reality, that's what it is about, and our character is facing another trap of his own mind. And I hope you like I guess it's a pop tune.
It's paradoxical.
Exactly. So I hope you liked it.
The Ride of the Mind is pretty much the most cinematic tune, the tune with a much more kind of cinematic feel to it. And the name, of course, is so kind of obvious and dangerous in terms of what that can be perceived in each one of us. But the mind can go crazy. But the way we approach these mind turbulences in this direct path or non-dual path is just by allowing these things to come out. Because if they are there, it's because they need to come out, and accepting this, but without identifying with the mind. And the difficult part is like how I'm not going to identify with it, but just by asking the questions that Gab was mentioning before, like it's really important to go deep into basic questions like who am I? And if you think you have the answer, just like go back and answer and question something else about your answer regarding who you think you are. And you find this eventually that there is really just an idea of who you are, but there's really no one there. It's just a concept of what we think we are. And basically the right of the mind is just a reminder of that part of us that is there, but it's not really like us, unless we think and we play with that.
So to me, the story there goes in the way that, of course, is a ride, an internal one, but not like an emotional moment. It is as this world as we perceive it, big, round planet in X galaxy somewhere else, blah blah. That all of that can be an internal experience. That can be everything that is placed around, and it comes to you. Is another part of you that is at that very moment expressing as, in this case, this chasing thing in the train, So, and I had a dream once when we were doing this tune, that this person got into this train, and then this voice on the train speaker says, like, you are not going nowhere or something, you're going nowhere, like really loud. And then the train didn't move, but the whole scenario outside, the mountains and all the world was the thing that it was moving. And then I woke over like, fuck, that's crazy, that tune. And
well, that's a dream, but that's what I feel when I'm flying.
but wait a minute. So on this tune, we can kind of hear like almost like a James Bond theme, because James Bond is the guy who is, in this case, the mind that is chasing things and is just making things like very, very punctual. And what time is this? Is trying to find the bad guys. What Rod was saying under this non-dual thing, there's no such thing as bad guys. It just will go crazy. But that's
neither good guys.
Neither good, neither bad. Exactly. So this is the ride of the mind.
Ride of the mind. Broken rage is just what this character goes through when he doesn't know how to get away from this identification with the mind and with the personality, right?
Yes, but also I think it's both, and I think also I think this rage is a positive rage, because it is this internal. Imagine this world which is this internal aspects of this one person that is playing, let's say, bad habits and bad habits in general, and then there's a part of this being that is just getting to know these guys that are around and just making me do bad things, and all of a sudden it's like enough is enough, but in a good way, like sometimes we have incessant thoughts that are repetitive, and they just like torture ourselves, like it just goes against us, and they're self-destructive. But there's a moment that you get this broken rage that is positive and just says, no, fuck you. And that's to me. But maybe for you, you have another. Fine.
And the thing, the way those thoughts happen is because sometimes the body responds to some older thoughts and all the shit that we've been carrying. But there is a glimpse of awareness that says like, that needs to pull the body back to, to tell the body, hey, listen, this is the way it used to be, but it doesn't have to be that way anymore.
Exactly.
And yeah, with rage, but at the same time with love and compassion towards yourself is very, very liberating. So I used a lot of the story. I'm sorry, you wanted to say something?
Musically, that's I think that's why it's like a punk. It's like a punk tune, because it is rebel, and punk movement has always been about just questioning things, just only questioning. And I think that's very healthy. That's not unhealthy, because in this world, like Cube, the Matrix, it hardly nowadays gets questioned by anybody. So I think it is very important. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's this broken rage is not an unhealthy one. It's a very healthy one. It's just like, even within you can have questions mark. These thoughts are so self-destructive, just question them. Are you fucking real?
And they're just happening. I mean, thoughts are happening the same way sounds are happening, the same way we see things and we smell things. It's just happening. But you don't go back and say like, what was I smelling like a minute ago or 2 minutes ago? Just go, because it's happening and it goes. The sounds goes, but the thoughts, we think we have to. I mean, we go back over and over. But when you start to realize that they are the same, they're just things that are happening, but you're not even thinking. When was the last time you think you choose your thoughts?
Well, you're not taking them seriously.
Exactly.
So it is. To me, that's what broken rage is about, and it has this punk feel like, nah, I don't believe you anymore. Exactly. You're not gonna control me anymore.
It's a post-punk beat, the one that we chose for that song, and with a lot of more distorted Fender Jack. Than actually, I didn't use the Fender Jack there. I used the Les Paul.
Oh.
But anyway, enjoy it.
I was working on the album In Between Thoughts as a symphonic arranger and composer. Usually I'm pretty diverse on in my work when it comes to genres and styles. I studied classical composition. I'm a composer by trade, but I'm doing much more production than composing these days. So I would be a producer for various bands and styles. For example, I would do EDM stuff one week, then I would do some rock related stuff the next week and so on. I think we started to work together actually in 2016 or 2017. I was approached by the record label at the time to write some arrangements for the show in, I think it was Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles. So that was our first contact. So I would spend some time with the music they sent me, which means that I would try to figure out what kind of emotion they would go for. So what kind of expression the orchestra should have. So if something more strict is needed, or just something supportive of the main themes, or maybe just something new and maybe more creative, you know. So I would spend some time with the music, determine this, and then I would go put the song in my computer, and I would record some orchestral parts, some mock-ups around that. Well, that would be the process, then I would send it back. We had to determine which orchestra to choose for collaboration. So we had several options. We ended up choosing the one that's on the album, of course. It was the Sofia Symphonic Orchestra. It was very, very, very good orchestra. All of them were fantastic musicians. They were also, most of them were like professors, you know, in the universities of music and stuff. So I was pretty sure it's gonna be straightforward too. It's gonna be easy, and it was. It was. I traveled to Sofia and we recorded the whole stuff in one day. Orchestra conductor was prepared very well. He knew the scores in advance, and everything was just like this. Easy job. The recording was strings only. That was the whole concept from the very beginning was strings only. And I think it's a good idea because I think the string orchestra fits with the guitars very well. You know, they come from the same family, it's all strings and it makes sense. And it sounds good. There are a couple extra elements on the album that were programmed in the computer by me. So like some sound effects, something cinematic, maybe some, you know, ambiences and stuff, but nothing that the live orchestra would play apart from the strings. Percussion was programmed. It was done in the computer because it was not like your regular percussion that would be played live. It was more like sound effects, sound design percussion, you know, the cinematic style. Well, what I love about them is that they don't micromanage. They just give you a piece of music and then they let you do your stuff. So this is how we did it. Actually, they just sent me a demo and then I went and did my thing and I tried some stuff and they liked it and we went along. So there was nothing like back and forth 5 to 10, nothing like that. It was just, they presented me with something, they already had a vision and they just let me do my thing and they liked it, luckily. We never met. The first time we met was last year in summer. So all of this was online. Wow. This is a completely unique situation. I never experienced anything like this. I think the basics of a collaboration like this is trust. And I think a good collaboration always comes from a place of trust. And this is exactly what I got from them. They were both they just let me do my thing. No micromanaging, as I said, no, nothing. I think they might have been choosing people based on how much they trust them, probably, which is a good idea.
So almost there. Finding myself leads me to you is kind of obviously we are getting towards the end where kind of this realization happens, but finding myself thematically is kind of is touching that part of the mind that is kind of connected, or the heart or whatever that is kind of connected to this awareness that we've been talking about, and it's a tender kind of song, in a way. Then it's not a ballad, but it has much more depth in the notes and in the way we actually perform the track.
But I think also relates to what you were talking about earlier on when you share with us your experience when you didn't feel well and you were in this resistant thing, resisting like why this happens to me, why do I need to drink fucking ginger, whatever it is that I need to get healthy again because I need to be happy again or be peaceful again. And then you found that, behind all of these complaints, behind all of this resistance is the blue sky. And
like
anything else are the clouds. And it's this moment of realization that, fuck, I am the sky, I'm not the clouds. The clouds come and go. And there's no such things as a bad cloud or a good cloud. Maybe some of them would be more rainy or whatever. But I'm the sky. And I think this is this tune that what leads me to you is about that moment of stop resisting it. If you're you at the end, sorry my French, if you're like if you're in a bad situation or in a bad thing, there's just one thing sometimes to do or not to do, which is just have that realization. So this is this tune, it touches on that. I hope you liked it.
And finally, we get to the final track of this album, this story, and that is going to be continued. But this track gives the name to the album, In Between Thoughts, A New World, which basically is, I mean, it's very kind of direct. You know, in between thoughts, there's a tiny, tiny little space. And when you stop there, and that's what, you know, it happens when you meditate and all that, and in a way you forget that you have a body, you have a, you know, mind. I mean, there's nothing. There's just pure stillness. And that thing is there as background of your life always, and is available for you always, in any time since before you were born and after you die. Is there still, quiet, available to you, and is pretty much what never changes in you, which is around, we go around the circle, but it's your true nature.
Yes, and also in the story is like, personally, I think we both like a lot of great films, and I love stories, and I love anime, and I love science fiction and post-apocalyptic things. But I also wanted to find stories that are not so much about so destructive and so destruction, which I love those too. But in this story, I didn't want to put anything like that. I just wanted to be this character at Baita, to find, after finding myself leads me to you, and it has this realization. It's like stepping into a new world, because it's a new way. It's almost like if you were in those cinemas that these 3D cinemas, and you're living all the film without those glasses, you know, they're 3D, and all of a sudden you are wearing those, and it's like, it's the same, but it's not the same. You see, this is just like top of the notch thing, you know. So, and this new world, I have a great imagination, as you do too. So imagine, like, I don't know, humans flying into different buildings that have no doors. It's just like a very high technological, but also ecologically respectful to the planet. So it's a humanity that really technology and science and all our systems, economic system, educational system, religious systems, all of that are in service of life, no in service to just a few people. And so in this new world, so when we have the film, I would love to see, I don't know, a great bunch of animators from different world.
For me, actually, it goes beyond that, because the new world, because it's, you know, is a new world is actually awareness.
Okay, yeah. So you're saying I'm changing the film for a good film, right? Like my story would be like the film, another story that is
exactly.
Yeah.
Because the film is in awareness, and to me the new world is awareness. But you know, that's the way it goes.
Because awareness is the screen.
Exactly.
So we have a new world projected on that screen.
Exactly.
But that makes sense to you.
Makes sense.
Fantastic. Oh, happy days.
So I hope you like the album, and see you on tour. We're going to start in 4 days in London, and then we go
France.
Everywhere, France and the States, and go back to
I
Europe.
I think we're going to play in Germany too.
Yeah, we're going to Poland, to Denmark, to Norway, to Spain, to Ireland. Finally, England, obviously, the States, Japan, Australia.
All the dates will be somewhere there or there.
So thank you very much for all these years, and see you on tour, hopefully.
Love.
Ciao, ciao.